Up next, I really appreciate everyone being patient with us and staying in this room and enjoying all of these terrific conversations. We're on to our last fireside chat for the day. But as they say, it's last but not least. We have a really exciting conversation lined up with Mr. Aakash Chaudhry of Aakash Education Services. As I was studying the backstory for this panel, I came across the story of Mr. J.C. Chaudhry, the founder of Aakash Educational Services. And I learned that he started his entrepreneurial career at the age of 8, selling biscuits at the railway station on the platform in New Delhi. From there, he started a small coaching center and then went on to found Aakash in 1988. So then, together with his son, the two of them grew that company into a large and the best test prep company in the world. They made headlines with their exit to BYJU'S in 2021. So here to tell us the story of Aakash from the inside is Aakash Chaudhry, and then Aravind Krishnan from Blackstone, who will join him in this fireside chat. Please welcome Aakash and Aravind.
Hi, good evening all. Quick introduction, I'm Aravind Krishnan. I'm an MD with Blackstone. I don't know whether it's the last session. You guys must be all really tired, so we'll keep this short and crisp. So we have 23 minutes ongoing here. I have the immense pleasure of interviewing a great friend, a charismatic leader, and one of the best entrepreneurs I've personally met, Aakash Chaudhry. Quickly, I should just at least introduce Aakash Education to you guys. And given the company and the person have the same name, I'm going to refer to the company as AESL, which is Aakash Educational Services Limited. So AESL is by far the leader in test prep in this country. It's been teaching more than 300,000 students a year for more than 35 years. And most importantly, it's been consistently delivering results for its students, which is quite incredible. And it was founded by Aakash's father, Mr. J.C. Chaudhry, who is a visionary, whom you should all meet at the right time. And I think we should get right to it. And Blackstone, by the way, had a very small part. Luckily, we were part of the journey for a few years of this tremendous success. And we should get right to it, Aakash. So first question. Aakash is an education which has been consistently delivering outcomes, year over year, generating ranks for its students. What's the secret sauce behind the success?
I think there's no secret sauce. It's just doing the hard work day in, day out. And one fine day you realize that you put together something great, something which is consistent, something which is serving a need, and a product that the customer really love. And once you're doing this consistent outcomes, somewhere in the journey it becomes a brand, which becomes synonymous to your outcomes that you're delivering. And people come calling. And once they come calling, I think it becomes a responsibility for you to do justice to that trust and continue to do a good job and not move away from your ethos and principles that you put together. So literally, there hasn't been a sort of a secret sauce. Just put your head down, keep doing that, and then the outcomes really build that brand for you.
No, that's quite incredible. And you mentioned the ethos of just delivering those outcomes. Every time any employee of Aakash we speak with, they always kind of think student first. And that doesn't come naturally to a lot of companies. Like, Amazon claims that they are customer first, and that's the reason they are where they are. And similarly, Aakash is always focused on student first. Let it be the pedagogy, let it be the way your classrooms are structured, let it be how you hire teachers. So how did you build that culture from 1988? How did that evolve?
I think the genesis behind putting this student first philosophy was very, very simple for us. Very small business with very humble start. And we always believe that somebody who's giving my family bread to eat every night is someone who's next to God to me. And if you try to see God in your customers, and I think that was the point when we said that, we can't do any kind of mess up, or we can't cheat around with them, we can't do substandard offering to them. So once you have that mindset, your systems start to evolve and revolve around that philosophy. And for us, it was very, very, very simple and very clear that as a company, we were very clear that these are the students because of which we exist. And these are the students because thousands of families in our company are getting fed every day. So everybody needs to respect that and make their systems around it. So much so that we had empowered our teams that if you are confused, take the decision in the benefit of the student without even asking us. So that was the level of empowerment that we had given. And we didn't say take the decision in the favor of the student, because you can be biased when you favor someone, but when you're doing a benefit, then you're looking at a well-being of the entire student community. And that was the empowerment that really helped us. And that was the hard work that the company did very, very proactively in ensuring that the ethos and the values of student first are not at the conference room or the boardroom table or a meeting table. It really trickles down to the last person in the company. Even the guy who's the security guard outside, the student is first. I think those kind of insights and trickling it down to the last man really made standard experience across all our 200 centers that we had.
Yeah, by the Indian tourism tagline is called Aditi Devo Bhava, which translates to the guest is God. For clearly Aakash education, the student has always been God, which is so
Absolutely.
true. Yeah. So when we talk about outcomes in any business, there are kind of conflicting priorities that you need to kind of solve for. And at least in education businesses, we have seen is at times delivering outcomes for your students and growth can be conflicting. It's a yin and yang. How much can you grow while ensuring that everyone gets a seat that they're kind of aspiring towards? How did you kind of always think about that? Because you are a company who has achieved both in a very sustainable way for a long period of time.
I think the idea behind this was once we created System of Excellence in Delhi, which was our first outfit. And idea was the students, the good students, and very soon in the journey we realized that it's not that the Delhi students are giving the outcomes. I think it's the quality of good students with a quality system in a combination are giving great outcomes. And quickly we realized that these good students are not only in this region, they're all over the country. And they are in search of a system like this, which has taken 2 decades to build. So why can't we take that to them? And in a vision and mission to take that quality system to those deserving students, we happen to grow. It was never like that, okay, this is a company, we have to have these many center targets, these many revenue targets. And so it was never the calling for us. The calling was, we built something beautiful. Can we take it to more deserving students? And as we tried to do that, coupled with this system of excellence in education with good quality students all across the country, started producing outcomes from every corner of the country. And that's where the brand, extended its outreach and became a national brand for test prep rather than a regional brand. And that helped us to build a story that can attract talent that, okay, there is a company, started small, doing all the right things, have their core in the focus, they're not getting distracted, they want to genuinely help the students out there, so let's join their mission. And that attracted some really good talent for us. And that approach really helped us bring some of the finest brains who could believe in our system and take the system to many places. And that's where we ended up building, a large enterprise, which today has about 300 centers serving more than 400,000 students in offline on an annual basis. So I think the growth was an outcome of a focused quality access outreach that the company had.
And that's a great point. And just to that, there are 2 operating models that many physical test prep companies in this country have had over a period of time. You can have one massive center in Kota or Hyderabad where you expect students to come to you and then you teach them. But while you adopted a very, very different model, you took education to the small towns, to like now more than like 250 cities.
Yep.
How did you think about that? Taking students to taking education to the children rather than bringing children to a big center?
I think as a philosophy, we were very against the coaching hub model, which exists in places like Kota, Hyderabad, Kanpur, where a student had to leave their house, have to leave their school and come to a place, get their accommodations and study there for a year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on the program. So intrinsically, we were not convinced with the thought process because in our experience, students perform at their peak when they get a great ecosystem. And I think the family, the culture, the security, the food, the peer group that they get in their household cannot be replicated in a regimented outfit. So, we never believed in that concept. And that was the reason we built our systems so that we can take the system of excellence from one city in Delhi to multiple cities. And I think that really pushed us to develop talent, bring on people who were smarter and sharper than us. In fact, that was one of the important things for us. How will we do this? Because, you can't do this kind of a build-up alone. You need good people. And generally, you need people smarter than you, because what you could deliver, you've already delivered. And, I always believe that, you always have a average IQ in the company. And if the next guy coming in your company has a lower IQ, then you're bringing the whole average down. So what are you doing? You're trying to protect your job or your position or your presence, but in the process, you're bringing the average down. In fact, our belief is, I think the next guy has to be smarter than me so that I can take the average up. And at the end of this process being compounded over 10 years, became a great company with a great set of talent, which is also a negative because everybody who wants to start a new business, they look at Aakash, get people from there. So I think, but we don't mind that because, when you're doing something like this, there will be some damage and, you build that into your system of growth. So that really helped us.
As an auxiliary benefit of taking education to the cities, I think one data point that we had noticed and we cherished a lot was that actually a majority of women students or girl students in your institution vis-a-vis like a quota system where Indian parents are just not willing to send women to a center like a Kota or Hyderabad, which is like commendable.
Yeah, absolutely. And somehow, somewhere in the Indian community, we started off with medical test prep, and there were a lot of girls who were opting, in fact, to the tune of 70% of the students applying for a PMT or a NEET exam were girls. And the opposite was true for engineering aspirants. And that really was also a cause of concern for us that, why should we put children in a situation where they have to make a choice of going to a great institution, but for that they have to leave their house. So can we bring that system to their local house or to their local city so that they don't have to leave their parents, they don't have to leave those all security and comfort, they don't have to leave the motivation that they get from their peers and their parents and the community. So I think that really helped us. In fact, we were in a situation that drove us not to go for a hub sort of a model.
Got it. And Aakash, you alluded to brand building earlier, and it's tremendous how Mr. Chaudhry and you over a long period of time has built a brand which is loved and trusted by millions of students. Actually, I think we had this stat when we made the investment. Almost 1/3 of doctors in this country are actually Aakash alumni, which is a tremendous stat. And it's not easy to build it, right? You have to deliver outcomes year after year, and these outcomes are life-changing outcomes for your students. So in today's world of blitz scaling, people want to triple their revenue, double their revenue in a short period of time. It's tough to do the long, hard work of building brands, right? So you might need to resort to push-based sales, spending a lot of money on advertising to build a brand. So how do you kind of balance out? And you need to do both. There's no magic bullet. So how do you kind of balance out the developing a brand over a long period of time versus the short-term kind of push-based sales?
We've always believed that it's first quality, then quantity. If you create center of excellence, it'll scale automatically. And I think that's the belief that we've always had. And, we are going a few decades back, but at that time, we were not in a hurry to, show some numbers or, post some massive growth numbers out there in terms of our centers or students. I think we were not in a hurry. And as a company, the fundamentals were very, very simple. If you know something good, just keep at it, make that an excellent product. Because we know that creating something successful cannot be an accident. It has to be a well-curated, thought-through, hard work, day on day, consistent, repeated effort. In fact, sometimes, success becomes very boring because you're doing the same thing every single day consistently without getting distracted by all the opportunities, noise around. I think that really was one of the important things for us, that we never distracted ourselves. Being a top player in medical entrance, every week we would have an opportunity. Why don't you get into IAS? Why don't you get into bank PO? Why don't you get into GMAT, GRE? Why don't you get into a railway board exam, TOEFL? By doing so much hard work and being number one, if I'm at 5%, I have 95% of the market out for me to capture. Why should I be in hurry to thin myself out, create a portfolio where I don't have a success track record? So I think for us to remain focused, that really gave us strength to create some exceptional amount of quality, and the quantity just followed after that, because everybody came calling, and who could not come, they tried to pull us to their cities, and in the process grew us out of that, and we never had to look back.
Got it. See, Aakash, you personally, and today, hybrid and omnichannel is a big buzzword in education, but you personally were at the vanguard of this revolution. I think almost a decade back, when Aakash was a purely offline physical test prep player, you transformed it to become a completely omnichannel hybrid player, where you figured out that physical helps with efficacy, but online or digital helps with access. Can you just speak through that journey and how you this seems so obvious today, but it was not obvious a decade back?
This is so interesting. When I sort of put this idea to my father, he listened to me. And then same night, we were having a family dinner, and then, he tells my mother, just put some sense in this boy's head. He's going to kill the entire business that I built by putting this online video studio. And, who's going to watch it? Students come for the teacher, not for these movies. They're not paying this money for that movie. So I think that's how we started. And I said, we don't want to be another Kodak. And if it is so good, then somebody else will do it. And rather than somebody else cannibalizing ourselves, we should go ahead and cannibalize ourselves and create a new market for us. And I think that is where I was just discussing with this, a friend of mine here, Haman, and we were remembering our conversation where when you bring an online product in the market, a lot of time people price it very low. And I would always question that. Is it substandard that you're pricing it low? Are you not using great teachers? Are you not putting effort into it and investing into it? You are. Then why are you pricing it low? And I think that's the time when we decided that, this is as good as offline. Let's take it into the market as another channel and a great product and not a substandard substitute. So when we tried to do that, that market respected that. And with offline presence and a brand presence and, signboards of Aakash everywhere, people had that conviction that these guys will not run away. So I think that really helped us in building the online business. And we did initial level of investment in bringing the technology, in hiring the platform so that we can take that product and that promise to students. And I think in a market which was, in any case, in deficit of top quality teaching programs, which were very, very limited to offline location, this came in as a great surprise. And we did not compromise on the quality of the teachers or the training of the teachers or investing money behind it. We were taking it as a parallel business to offline. Initially, we had a lot of challenge. In fact, my first product was a PSP video game screen, because at that time there were no tablets. So what we did, some frugal engineering and put some content in a SIM card, in a data card, and put it in a PSP video game screen, and we sold that. And that got acceptance, and I think after that we never turned around and looked back. because after that the video lecturing and all of that started and live tutoring started. And it gave so much advantage to students because they don't have to come back for a doubt session of 10 minutes. They can actually dial in the teacher and get that quality intervention that they need at the right time. And they don't have to wait for a weekend to travel 40 kilometers for that. Although they do that for their main lectures, but not for that. So I think this whole gap really excited us, and we found that as an opportunity, and we tried to capitalize on it. But I think it took about 5 years of numbers to move for him to say, let's look at this business seriously now. So I think that was the story.
So I think we have time for one last question, Aakash. And you always mention values over valuation. And I think that statement is very pertinent in today's world where people are after funding rounds and valuation milestones. There are a lot of young entrepreneurs in this room trying to build education edtech businesses. What advice would you give them to help them focus on the long term, building a long-lasting institution versus just solving short-term issues?
I mean, you've answered that yourself. It's a short-term issues are short-term issues, and short-term vision and thought process is not for the long term. So obviously, values are forever. And I think this is something which I find missing in the new edtechs. They don't know how to say no. If this business is coming from any corner, they just want to lap onto it without even thinking, is it aligned to what I wanted to do? Is it aligned to my strengths? Am I ready to offer this, or serve this opportunity? I think those kind of questions do come to their mind, but they always think that, maybe that is how it is done. You have to stretch yourself. But I think in bid to stretch yourself, first you need to be ensuring that your values are preserved, are very, very clear, and they are trickled down to every member of the company and not run behind valuation. And I think value is something that you can control. Valuation is not in your hand. It's controlled by people outside, market outside, sentiment outside. There are many other elements. So why bank so much of something which is not in your control? Rather focus on something which is in your entire control, which is creating value, creating quality, and building systems around that, on top of that. So that has been our philosophy, and we've always focused on value and value creation, because that has given us rich dividends.
And is there a specific example you can give? Because strategy is about choosing what not to do. Was there a specific decision that you took saying, okay, I'm not going to get into this, I'll get stretched too thin?
Oh yeah, like I was mentioning that there were always opportunities for us to get into all kinds of test prep segments, but we decided that we're not going to get into that because it would take away the thought process and the vision and the mission for which we had set up Aakash, which was to serve students in a particular segment from age group of 13 years to 17 years, and we're not going to move away from that. So I think we were very, very clear not to get distracted, and there were opportunities thrown to us every now and then.
Thank you for those timeless lessons, Aakash, and the wonderful chat. Ladies and gentlemen, Aakash Chaudhry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aravind and Aakash. We heard that message consistently today, that entrepreneurs need to focus on the fundamentals, which are quality and flight to managing quality and value creation.